Okay, so welcome everybody. Pursuant to Public Act 101-0640, as well as the disaster proclamation and executive orders issued by Governor Pritzker. One second.
What's going on?
I find it is impractical and imprudent to hold a fully in-person meeting. Accordingly, this meeting will be held in person with limited physical attendance. As set forth below, those not willing or able to physically attend can still fully participate. Meetings must still be held in a manner that is open and open and convenient to the public, and there still needs to be an opportunity for public comment. There are changes from our normal meeting procedures, but we will not conduct business privately. Consideration is being given to how the public can at least see or listen to the meeting virtually without needing to attend in person. Instructions for how the public can see, listen, and/or participate in the meetings are listed immediately below this statement. And again, I'm reading this off the agenda. The public can submit comments. Importantly, the public body has adopted temporary public comment rules to ensure the means chosen to provide an opportunity for public comment complies with the Open Meetings Act provision that any person shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the public body. So we are limited to 15 people here in this room. Public comments can be submitted via email at admin@indianheadpark-il.gov or text 708-497-9745. This meeting is broadcast on Facebook Live, Zoom, and Comcast Channel 6. All right, Clerk Allison, could we please have a roll call?
Trustee Conboy. Trustee Conboy.
Sean, if you can hear, there you go.
Yes.
I am here.
Trustee, okay. Trustee Farrell Mayer.
Here.
Trustee Kennedy.
Here.
Trustee Metz.
Here.
Trustee O'Loughlin.
Here.
Trustee Wittenberg.
Here.
Okay, and Mayor Hinshaw is here. Thank you.
All right, again, apologize for that. First item on the agenda is the mayor's report, but we are going to skip ahead because we have some family members here, and we are going to do the affirming of Mike Kernick as the Deputy Chief of Police. So I think Brenda is going to read that. Maybe you guys want to go to the podium so people remote can hear that.
I would like to make a motion to affirm the appointment of Michael Kernick as the Deputy Chief of Police.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy and Sean. Okay, now we're ready.
Okay. Please repeat after me and raise your right hand.
I, Michael Kernick,
Having been appointed to the office of Deputy Chief
having been appointed to the office of Deputy Chief
in the village of Indian Head Park, Cook County, Illinois,
in the village of Indian Head Park, Cook County, Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the laws and ordinances of the village of Indian Head Park,
and the laws and ordinances of the village of Indian Head Park,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Deputy Chief
of the office of Deputy Chief
to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my abilities,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Do you guys want to get any pictures or whatever you want to do? Let's get some pictures. Because this is a special occasion.
And if I could, Mayor, real quick, Mike, it's a well-deserved position for Mike. It helps me out in my thing. And Mike, if you would come over here and introduce your family to the crowd. Let's see who this
My
is.
son, well, he's only our number 2-year-old daughter. My son, Logan, my wife Laura, and our second granddaughter, our first granddaughter, 3 years old, my daughter-in-law, Angie, and the 1-year-old, Troublemaker.
No, I may be in, that's cool, but you know what? I may be in trouble with the governor, but you guys are family, right? So why don't you pull the mask down and let's
So I should stay on
get
hold.
some real pictures.
I should stay muted.
Otherwise, we're gonna get,
There we go.
okay, right. Okay.
Okay, good. Mary, do you want to get in there? Okay, good. All right, very good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing you as having audio. Zoom stream. Okay. No, when I muted everybody,
Yes.
I muted the Zoom stream.
Oh, okay. We live and learn.
Yeah, even though he told me 3 hours ago not to do that.
Okay. Back to
Before you
the
begin, I have
mayor's
a question,
report.
please.
Any board member, if I'm talking about something, you have a question, folks on the Zoom call, let me know if you have a question or want me to clarify. First up, coronavirus. The Cook County Department of Public Health has Indian Head Park with 60 confirmed cases of COVID-19. That is up from 42 at our meeting last month. We have seen more cases recently, so the counts are climbing. The county has limited information that they share. What they share with us as a village is all online for anybody to see. The state has a statewide face covering order in place. I've been asked many times what happens if people are not wearing face masks. If there's a violation at a business in the village, they first get a verbal notice to make reasonable efforts to comply. The second step would be to give them a written notice. The third step would be to have some or all of their patrons leave the premises. And a fourth step would be involving a misdemeanor citation for a fine of between $75 and $2,500. We are still asking that everyone practice social distancing, wear a mask when you can't keep social distance, cover your mouth for sneezes and cough, keep washing your hands, and stay home if you are sick. In our area, Pillars Community Nurse in LaGrange is offering COVID-19 test. For sidewalks, we have some big news for sidewalks. We have 4 main areas for the sidewalk master plan. One of the village board's 3 goals from last year was to improve the pedestrian access in the village. We have been working to improve the pedestrian access on our primary roads. There has been no discussion or plans of working to get sidewalks on every street in the village, but only for the primary roads. Acacia Drive. Tonight we'll be discussing and potentially vote on the sidewalk options available. The board listened to the feedback we received and asked our engineer to give us 3 options for the sidewalk. John and I had a meeting on July 28th specifically for the executive boards of Wilshire Green, Acacia, and Indian Ridge. And if approved, construction is planned to start next summer. Plainfield Road. Phase 1, do we have the graphic of the sidewalk? Plainfield Road, Phase 1 for the Plainfield Road from the Tollway Bridge in Indian Head Park to East Avenue in Countryside. Thank you. The first corridor advisory committee meeting will be September 1st. The Phase 1 will be about 18 months, so end around the end of 2021. Construction would be after 2022. Wolf Road. Phase 1 project for Wolf Road is from Plainfield Road south to 79th Street, and that has been approved by Cook County. This is $1,800,000 for the cost of Phase 1, will be paid by Cook County and is expected to take 18 months. What happens in Phase 1 is the initial engineering of the road, sidewalk, drainage, utilities, bridges, and everything involved. Nothing is guaranteed because this will be a big project, but after Phase 1 is finished, we should have draft plans to share with the community to get feedback and lead to potential modifications. This board has talked about the potential to allow fences along Wolf Road due to the road expansion. We've also talked about working to eliminate buckthorn and other invasive plants in the community. Over the next year, I will seek to work with the village board on what we envision with the Wolf Road corridor, who pays what, potential fixes, buckthorn, and other potential things that we may change or look at. We will have at least 4 years before any construction starts, but it will take a while to get to an answer, and then if we do any work, that will take some time on the side of the road. Joliet Road, the last of the sidewalks, big news, in the state of Illinois recently passed budget is $4,125,000 for a sidewalk and pedestrian access from Wolf Road to Willow Springs Road. It's a big thank you to Senator Jacqueline Collins for her efforts. We have started the process of working with Senator Collins and the state departments to keep this project moving forward. 294 update. Work in our area has been going on with the sound walls in Countryside, sewer systems in Burr Ridge, and the ramp with I-55. Work is still progressing. When the sound walls in the village are slated to be affected, the tollway has said they will send out letters to all the residents affected, and of course we will talk about it here in our monthly board meeting. Only a couple more, hang with me. The 2020 census, we are at 83% complete, and we are in second place of the 17 villages in the township. Do we have that image of the census? Thank you. The deadline for the census is September 30th. I strongly encourage every person to be counted in the census. The census is used for things like distribution of federal tax dollars. Census employees will have an ID badge if they knock on your door, similar to the one on the screen. If you don't see a badge, please ask for it. All right, another big news, the federal government through the state has paid off $1,500,000 of the $2 million water main project that we did last summer. So this is fantastic news. Means we'll be able to plan for the next project sooner. And lastly, I know a lot of you are here for sheds and fences. The board has heard your responses. I know I have heard your responses. The board will be gathering more information, and we will be talking about this at the next month's meeting. But that does not mean you cannot have your comments tonight during this meeting. And then the letter that you received said any work had to be done September 30th, and that has been pushed out at least 6 months or 6 months after the board takes any action. So with that, we are on the agenda, time for public comments. Is there anybody here who would like to make a public comment? Ann?
Tom,
Please? Yes?
that was me, actually.
Oh. Come to the podium, please. State your name and address, please.
I'm Ann Vermeer. I live at 21 Stonehearth Square, which is in Acacia. I want just a couple of short comments about the sidewalk in what you've had up here in your diagram. If on any given day you were to go over to Acacia Drive and watch how many people are walking there, you don't find many. See, the traffic, maybe you're not aware of this, is Briarwood, because many of the people in Acacia, shoppers, joggers, walkers, they go over to Briarwood to reach the sidewalk that's along Willow Springs Road, so that they can go to Walgreens and all the other stores. And I have mentioned this before. However, to get from Briarwood to Willow Springs Road, you have to watch where you're walking because it's really not a road. In fact, it's an embarrassment to the community that it's rubble. And that's a perfect place for a sidewalk and a new street. But at one of the meetings last year, I was informed that repaving that street, 65th, is not on the agenda. It wouldn't be on the agenda till 2021. It's been this way for years, and I feel so sorry for the people that live near there. And lastly, what I want to say, at one of the meetings that you had, I think it was your engineer that passed out this leaflet about sidewalks. And it has on the last page, myth busting. And it has all the myths about not wanting sidewalks. You know, Americans prefer to drive, for example. No one will use a sidewalk. But what I find interesting, it says, this is a myth. Trees will be destroyed. Answer, not necessarily. Sidewalks can be curved to avoid trees. In fact, protecting a tree is one of the few reasons for a sidewalk to deviate from a direct route. Another thing it says is sidewalks ruin the character of rural neighborhoods. And it says here, there are many ways to build a sidewalk or a path to match the design and the feel of the community. And that's why I'm hoping that the community will work with the associations and work out a compromise so that we don't have to have trees destroyed. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ann. Anybody else? Jack? Karen will get Jack and then Hugh.
Hi, Jack Brandish, One Cascade. I've lived in Acacia for 44 years. I've been at One Cascade for 34 years. And I know you guys are going to talk about the options for the sidewalk on Acacia Drive. I'd like to talk about the sidewalk that is going on Cascade Drive. Right now, all three of the options show that the sidewalk is going through, the concrete sidewalk is going through the asphalt driveways of 1, 3, and 5. And I really feel this is going to affect the value of our home. I've asked in previous meetings that maybe if the sidewalk can go in between the driveways. I don't know if that's possible. I am asking if this sidewalk can possibly be north instead of on the south side of Cascade. Is there any reason why it has to go through the driveways? I really feel it's going to affect the value of my house. You have a white or a gray, light gray sidewalk going through a black asphalt driveway. It's going to look terrible. What about the curbing as well? You talk about the high curbing. Right now I have the low curbing going into my driveway. Is there going to be a high curb where that sidewalk is going to be at? How am I going to get into my driveway? I'm really asking you on behalf of the residents of myself and 3 and 5 Cascade, if we could look at a different variation of going through the driveway. Instead of going through the driveways, if we go in between the driveways or on the other side of Cascade.
I had sent an email to Amy. I didn't have your email address and asked Amy to forward it to you. When they do a sidewalk, the normal or the standard sidewalk is a unobstructed or it goes through driveways. If it stopped at the driveway, there would be bumps for the sidewalk, and so the sidewalk intent is to be one surface. The reason why it is on the south side of Cascade is the sidewalk that is going along Acacia would connect to that sidewalk on Acacia, which would then connect to the sidewalk at Black Hawk Park. And then the curb, there would be no curb at the sidewalk. It would be flush or close to flush with your driveway. And your driveway, I believe, would get a new apron that would be concrete, and it would have the low indentation curb.
It's still going to affect the value of my house. Do you really care about us? Do you really care about me and the value of my house in doing this?
Absolutely, I do, and I
you
believe the
think-
board does, yes.
And there's no other, do we really have, I don't understand why the sidewalk has to be on the south side. Put it on the north side.
I just answered that, Jack, and we're gonna have a whole agenda item
Right, I just want to bring that up.
Yep,
But I really feel it's gonna affect the value of my house and the houses of 3 and 5. I talked to my neighbors, they're very concerned. And, I've lived here for a long time, and I really don't think you're thinking about the value. You want to get the sidewalk through and you don't care about the value of my house. I really think that you should think about that, how you're affecting the residents with the sidewalk project. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen? There's a few chairs over here for you guys. I know you want to talk, so we will begin to you, Karen.
Karen Barthel, 24 Sauk Trail. As you mentioned, on July 28th, you met with the HOAs. John and the mayor met with us. I just wanted to say that the general consensus, and John, I think you were taking a tally, was a 3-foot green space with a 5-foot sidewalk. Of course, we would prefer no sidewalk, but, I think we were pretty much all on that same page with the associations, that it would be the least invasive and somewhat protective for the drivers who would see people. There would be a little bit of a green space and room to plow snow. At that meeting also, speed bumps were brought up and discussed, and about the speeding cars that are on Acacia Drive. At the time, someone mentioned, couldn't they do more ticketing of the speeding cars along Acacia Drive? And I think you mentioned, Mayor, that we don't get a lot of profit out of a ticket that's written. Well, it's safety first. And I think the HOAs wanted to get that point across, that the sidewalk is being put in as a safety issue. I think the ticketing is just as much as important to slow these drivers down. We also discussed the retaining walls and the driveways that Jack just talked about. My question is, I noticed in the board packet tonight that you're reviewing it. The staff and Public Works is recommending the original 5 and 5, the 5-foot green space. And
I made a mistake in that. I misread my notes. It is what we had the consensus when we met.
Oh, it's 3
Yeah,
foot with,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you, John, for clarifying that. I appreciate that. And my other question is, do we have a current sidewalk ordinance as far as the use of a sidewalk? I know Riverside does. John, I know you've worked with Riverside and North Riverside, and they're very specific about, bike riding, skateboards, so forth and so on. Is the board looking to put something in place like that?
If we don't have one, we will.
Okay, good. Third question. Mayor, you have mentioned that in time, when the county goes ahead with this project of redoing Wolf Road, that the sidewalk from Wolf would meet with the sidewalk on Acacia Drive. My question is, Your right-of-way there is not large enough for a sidewalk. That's private property both to Indian Ridge and to Acacia. How would that work?
I'm not sure how that would work. I have not done that with the county, but in talking with the county representatives, they understand the plan that we're doing with Acacia as kind of a first step. And then the second step when we do Wolf Road would be to connect the sidewalk. So I don't have the answer of how, but I don't think it would be done in the middle of the night or anything weird. They have a way to do it, and I'm sorry I don't have that answer. I will look into that.
So it's the county who would purchase property? It's not the village because it would be part on village property?
I believe that the county on a main road has some jurisdiction past the intersection. As an example, on the tollway for that bridge over on Plainfield Road, they come, I believe, 100 feet off the tollway. So even though their boundaries on normally are, 5 or 10 feet off the tollway, on an intersection like that or on a road like that, they do come further out. And one clarification, your point about tickets. I did say we don't make money on tickets, but we still write a lot of tickets. I was clarifying a point about
Well,
tickets.
and I don't know, and maybe Pat can answer this. Could you adjudicate the speeding tickets here in the village?
No.
No, I didn't think so. I thought that's a state law. Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. Anybody else, public comments? Jack, if you can hold on, we have many people that want to speak. Lou, if you don't mind coming to the microphone, stating your name and address, please.
Louis Roski, 1704 West 65th Place. I'm here about the fences and sheds. We live in that Bartlett home area that you guys call East Side over there behind Walgreens. I guess John's the one who wrote the letter.
Yes,
Okay, now I met you. All right, well, you've upset 35 homeowners.
I know.
Quarter of them are seniors. Some say they're granted in, whatever. That's not the issue. The issue is we've got a petition, we got 34 out of 35 signed. The problem is the one who didn't sign, she's got bone cancer and she's not right. So that's my 35th signature, but I got 34 I gave to Tom. Oh, boy. But the sheds and everything, we got that, you got everybody's letters. Right. They were supposed to all send them, email them to you, but things happen. But we've got residents there from 10 years going all the way up to 60 years, residents. And Hermes, Dorothy Hermes, you probably know her. She's got a shed. She says it's grandfathered in. The fence issue, we got Acacia behind me. They got daycare going on. I hear noise, I go back, kids are playing in my yard. We're all on 100 by 200 foot lots. All right, if he falls with a stick in his eye, they're gonna sue me, okay? I have no privacy. I could put bushes, I don't want bushes. That's more maintenance. And there's other people that live behind the apartment building, same thing. They got dogs, when they put their fence up and they put no trespassing, they call the police come and say, well, nothing we can do about it. Well, the problem is, if you don't do nothing about it, and he turns around and says, well, if the dog bites somebody, they're gonna sue you. We've got issues like that. We have issues of little kids with where the fences are. He's got a little toddler. I'm inviting all of you board members to come to my house. I sit there every day, I'm retired, drinking coffee, come by, and I'll walk you around our neighborhood, because you probably haven't been there much. We got nice kept homes. They are middle class or lower, whatever you want to call it. It's just upsetting everybody. And I've been listening to it for 2 weeks now. I went around and got everything. You guys threw a grenade on my street. I'm the one that laid on it. All right? We have to do something. I say, we're all saying, get rid of the ordinance. I know you got the west side to contend with. Make it a Bartlett resident, Do away with them. Let us have our fences and our sheds. It hurts our property value, resale value. There's 2 people out there trying to sell their house right now. They can't. Because one guy's I think he's closing tomorrow. He has to put money in escrow because he had to get a price on taking down his fence, his shed. It's a police officer moving in with 2 little kids. And he saw the house, the fence, everything, he's happy. Security. We got changing times here. This is 2020, not 1972 when we were brought in. We don't want to make it look like the Highlands with that tall one when you go down Willow Springs Road, make it look trashy. That's why I said, I've been fighting you to come. Look, listen to us. Or listen to me, and I'll tell you, because I've listened to all of them there for 2 weeks now. Emails, texts. I had to make copies of their things and stuff. It's rough. It's taking a toll on me. I was volunteer too. I did baseball, youth baseball, 30 years. This is nothing compared. It's just been, not all 30-some showed up, but most of them did. We got over 25 people out there. I guess I'm the spokesman. I didn't ask for it, but I'm the only one that jumped on it. So think about it. I know it's not coming up for a while, of course. But that would be, to me, would solve all the problems. Let us have our fences, let us have our sheds. You already got in code the height and everything. That's no problem. But when we sell to somebody, I can't tell them, well, it's got to be removed. Make a fee or something, but let's have it now grandfathered in. Because I might even want to put a fence up. Because I live there, like I said, my wife won't sit on our patio because we're wide open. It's like people are eyeballing us. Oh, excuse me, you know? No privacy, no nothing. We're not asking for wood fences, you know, the cyclone things. So just think. I know you guys, most of you live over there. You got that, I drove through there. I got lost, you know, but you got the nice wooded area. Your house is nestled in there. And I counted about 3 or 4 sheds, I think. But that's all we're asking for. And
All right.
they just want to be left alone.
Lou,
We haven't
thank
done
you.
nothing. Thanks.
And just so you know, the houses in what we call Old Town did get letters about their sensors and fence. But thank you very much. Anybody else would like to address the board? Garrett, if you could please say your name and address, please.
My name is Garrett Hinshaw, and I live at 167 Cascade Drive in Acacia. So I'm not going to talk about fences or sheds, and I just want to disprove a couple fallacies that were talked about tonight. First one in regards to property values with the sidewalk. It's pretty apparent if you spend about 5 to 10 minutes on Google that you can find that property values do go up when there's sidewalks in your neighborhood. So it's a huge fallacy that they do go down due to look. That is not true. So I got 2 sources here which I'll provide as others did not. First one, article titled, "How Much is a Point of Walk Score Worth?" by Bakari at Redfin, which is published August 2016. So a couple facts here is that fewer than 2% of active listings in the United States are above a 90 out of 100 on the walk score, which is considered a walker's paradise. And they did a study of over 14 major metro areas, and they found that 1 walk score point increases the price of a home by on average of $3,250 or 0.9%. And cities in that were Chicago, Baltimore, Los Angeles, New York, the major metropolitan areas. And in that list, Chicago was higher than average with a increase in value of 1.1%. And so now going to city data, if you want to take that information and transfer that to numbers within Indian Head Park, you will find that in 2017, the median house or condo value was $256,964. And once again, this is from city data, this is statistics. And if we increase our walking score by just 1 point, which I think would happen if we implemented these sidewalks, we would get, according to the data, 1.1% increase in home value, which would be $2,826. So now if we were to assume there are roughly 1,000 houses in Indian Head Park, you're going to multiply that by the new increase in value for the homes and condos, the aggregate gain in property value in Indian Head Park from the sidewalk 1 point increase is $2.826 million. And I believe the number is 1.8 million costs, correct, Mayor? So if it was 1.8 million, we would pay 540,000, and the state pays 1.26 million of that, which is well below the gain. So if you want to talk about property values I would hope that you would at least be adequately informed with the statistics. Another thing that was mentioned at previous meetings was safety of sidewalks. I will not talk too long about this. First thing I'd like to say is from the United States Department of Transportation. They state that the sidewalks reduce other pedestrian crashes. Roadways without sidewalks are more than twice as likely to have pedestrian crashes as sites with sidewalks on both sides of the street. Another thing they state is children, other adults, and people with disabilities make up a substantial portion of the population, up to 37% in some states. Other people might choose to walk if they had better accommodations. I think that's pretty apparent, but sadly it is not in this village.
You're at your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. Any other comments? Jack, before we go around again, I want to make sure anybody outside, does anybody know? Because I did say they could. Tina, are you going to ask? Thank you. Tina's going to ask. Jack, if it's quick.
Jack Brandisher, One Cascade. I just had a question on the process. After you have picked a scenario for the sidewalks, what is the next step after that?
To get to work on having the project roll forward.
Does IDOT have a public hearing after that as part of the process?
No.
You do not? Okay. I thought in your scenario, you had IDOT as part of the process, as a public hearing.
I don't believe there's another public hearing. There are some state-involved steps because it's an IDOT-related project. I think we have to go through a process that they use, but I do not believe there is a public hearing with IDOT.
Okay. Thank you.
Comments? If you don't mind saying your name and address, please, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
My name is Frank DiPompeo, 1514 65th Place. The only comment I have is I really don't see the problem with having the sheds. I drive through Indian Head Park, and I'm seeing them not just in our section, but on the other side of Wolf Road, there's homes with sheds, playhouses. Our homes are small in that section of town. We need places for our gas-powered equipment, lawnmower, snow blower, lawn tractor. I would much rather see the village charge a permit fee, not only for sheds, but I installed a new driveway today. The village does not require a permit for a driveway. With as many people out there scamming people with driveways, I would rather have the village investigate the contractor and say, do you have you bonded, and raise the revenue for the village. The village, I am sure, needs the money. I have no problem for paying a permit fee for a shed, for my driveway, other items that I've had done too, that most villages do require a permit for, and we don't. Most of our homes are kept very nice. The sheds are not oversized or painted in odd colors. We're just asking for a place to store our equipment. That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other comments? Sue?
Hi, my name is Sue Legan. I live at 1604 65th Place. I guess what really was upsetting for everybody too is that certain people got letters, and certain other people didn't. To me, if you were going to do that the right way, they should have sent a letter out to every homeowner in Indian Head Park. And I just feel like the times are changing. There is no other town around here that has these ordinances. And I think we're different over there than on the other side. We have, like they said, we have the nursing home, which people wander. We have people going, cutting through yards to get to Walgreens, because years ago, we weren't given a path from 65th Place over to Black Hawk Park, because they couldn't afford it. I just feel that times have to change, and this is one thing, it's very confusing because you guys keep saying there have been permits for sheds and fences. I've been there 35 years. Everybody that's gone to get one, they said we can't have one. So I would like, to know when these were issued, how long ago, and, who were the people that got these permits? Because they were told, they couldn't have them, but if they've been there when they bought their homes, they should be able to keep them. That's what I feel. Thank you very much.
Did you want to?
Please.
Yeah, good.
So to answer your question, in 1985, the village issued about 17 to 20 special use permits for sheds and fences in the village, many of them in your neighborhood. So we annexed your the neighborhood in 1972. In 1985, I think we did a mass cleanup of things. So permits were issued for a number of sheds in your subdivision. About a year ago, starting at planning and zoning and then at the board, we were asked, why do some people have sheds and some don't? And people would come in and say, hey, can I get a shed? And we said, no, they're really not allowed, but here's a process you have to go through. So, but then those people would say, hey, how come they have a shed and I can't have one? So it started the ball rolling. So we spent about 6 months surveying the village, actually physically walking the village. And we came up with a list of everybody who had a permit, and usually this is by ordinance. So it's kind of a big deal to go through the process. Everybody who had a permit was exempted from getting the letter. So in your subdivision, if somebody didn't get a letter, it's because they were already approved by the village. And we really went through this painstakingly to make sure that we were accurate. A couple mistakes were made, yes, but we really went through your subdivision in particular. So that is where the background for the story. So
If you don't mind coming to the podium and stating your name and address, please. Thank you.
My name is Paula Matthews. I live at 1624 West 65th Street. I've been living there since the 41 years. My shed was there over 41 years. And I never get any notice or anybody come to my house, ask anything about it. Our area, like this side of the area, we're like an orphan. You guys don't care of us. But when you decide you want to take a shed or fence off, you just do it. You should come to talk to us when you made the issue, say you have the permit. We'd be glad to pay for whatever there is. But you guys don't say anything. Just give us a letter, and some of the people got a letter, some people they don't. Why do some people have a letter and some they don't? So are you kind of discriminate some of those people live in the area? We don't get nothing for free. And we keep pay for everything. So it's not fair for our little area. So I would wish some of you, those trustees, whatever you people, zoning thing, come to our area, take a look, walk to every house to look at it. My house, I tell you, is the most beautiful house in the area. I have a flower in the front and the back. I have a landscape in the front, in the back. You can count, I have over 100 different kind of type of flower and plants. So we're working hard in our garden. It looks beautiful. In our shed, we have the bushes built over there. You really don't see that much of it. But we do need a shed to put a snowblower, a lawnmower, and a gasoline, just in case we need one. If you take us away from us, where are we going to put this kind of thing? Because we don't have it. You say attach where? If your gasoline is leak, you put it in a garage, explode it. Who's going to be responsible for our house? So you guys have to think about it twice, 3 times. You know, not just think of your audience or whatever the hell you're talking about. So that's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir, in the back.
Good evening, Ron Walters and Michelle Walters, 1734 65th Place. We've been in our house since 1988. When we purchased the house, we had the existing fence and shed. And the question I have, which I would still haven't heard an answer for, is what is the discrepancy of a shed and a fence in our area? Why are they not allowed? I haven't heard a valid reason as to what is the reason. So that's a question that I have.
Fences and sheds are prohibited in the village except as a special use. So you have to have a special use permit granted by the village board.
That was an answer?
That is yes, that's an answer.
I mean, what is the harm of a fence or a shed, and what is the negative aspect of those two items? Why are they not allowed? What's the answer?
Well, Rod, this village was formed in 1959. When they formed the village, they said, we're not going to allow fences and sheds unless by permit.
In the area that is not ours.
Right. And then they gave anybody who had a shed or fence 10 years, 1969, to get rid of them. That ordinance is still on the books. It's still the law of our village.
Well, it needs to
We
be.
can change the law, and that's what we're hearing from
Okay.
you and others. But you asked, why is it not permitted? It's because it's in our ordinance. Again, that can be changed, just like we can do a lot of things. That's one of the things that the trustees will be looking at.
The two areas involved are like apples and oranges. The rolling landscape of one area is completely different than the area where we live, where it belonged to a different village at the time. So it doesn't make sense to have an ordinance that covers the whole village when it's not practical for the whole village.
I hear what you're saying, but you asked why, and I've tried,
Yeah,
I
you
think
got an
Johnson
ordinance,
tried
yeah.
to answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron.
Have a good night.
Anybody else like to make a comment? Yes, sir. Hello again.
Hello, yeah, James Eckwell, 6624 Howard Avenue. I had an idea, I just wanted to expand on what Ron said. As small as Indian Head Park is, we've got at least 5 completely different type of areas. We have our area, which at one time was LaGrange Highlands. And of course, then we got the original area over on the west side of Wolf Road. And we have the Acacia townhouses, we got the Wilshire Green condos, and also Ashbrook, which is also a completely different type of area. Is there a way to have everything zoned, or different rules for different zones as they would apply? I think it would, perhaps the shed and fence rule would apply in the area west of Wolf Road, but maybe not necessarily for ours. And I know it's, I don't know if it's possible to zone different areas different ways, but I know a business, for instance, is zoned much different than a residential, so perhaps it should be that, each different area, which has completely different needs, could have, different types of ordinances that would be more applicable to them.
Thank you, James. I'll answer your question in that, like, Ashbrook is a PUD, a planned unit development, so it is slightly different. They still fall under the Indian Head Park rules, but making 65th Place neighborhood, your neighborhood, different is one of the things the board will consider. So that will be in the discussion for next month. So I think the answer to your question is yes, that can happen.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Not making any promises, but saying that it is an option.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yeah, hang on, we'll get, Linda and I have a couple. Anybody else outside? Tina, yes? Please come state your name and your address, please.
Good evening, Board. My name is Tina Ryan, and my husband Jerry and I have been a resident of Indian Head Park for 30 years. I am here to talk about the fence. This fence has been here for 68 years, again, 30 of which we have lived in this residence. During this time, we have planted well over 30 trees and bushes. along the perimeter of our fence, which is not even visible from the street. All you can see is a gate. We take great pride in our landscaping, and we are very proud of it, and we know that it adds great value to our home. So to receive this ordinance in this manner, where during this 30 years we have had no communication of this fact, it just seems senseless and hard to understand. The expense that it would take to take down the beautiful landscaping along the perimeter of our home is immense and very disheartening. Again, we've just added value to our home. And the last thing I would just like to point out is during this time of the epidemic, for the residents to be receiving this information and looking at an expense like this is so disheartening. And I just would love to say Indian Head Park is somewhere where I'm proud to live, and I'm secure in my home, and I feel secure in my home. I know that it is not attracting residents, the rules and regulations of this town. And I just ask the board to consider changing this ordinance for fences and sheds. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments? Again, Linda has a few to read, and I have one from residents who have sent them in. I don't see any others, so Linda, if you don't mind coming up.
Good evening. I am just going to read some comments that were sent to us through the admin email, and I will try to keep it brief. The first one is on Acacia sidewalks. This came from Dale Holmquist. Her email stated, I have been informed the sidewalk issue is on the agenda for tonight's meeting. As a former Acacia resident, licensed broker, and concerned citizen, I stand in solidarity with those who oppose the sidewalk project. Acacia is the only townhome community that is not densely built and offers rolling grassy areas and green space. It would be a travesty to destroy the beauty of the area and kill many of the bushes and trees for a project that Acacia friends and residents clearly do not want. It's part of what makes Acacia so special. I trust that you will seriously keep the wishes of your Acacia residents and taxpayers in mind on this decision. I also received two on the shed ordinance. This one is from Ann Woywood at 6604 Howard. I, Ann Woywood, an Indian Head Park resident at 6604 Howard Avenue, would like to voice my opinion about the shed ordinance. I have lived here for 22 years with what I was led to believe is a grandfathered-in shed in my backyard. I was shocked to receive a letter after 22 years stating that I need to take down my shed by October or face a fine. I think it is time to do away with such an antiquated ordinance. My shed or any other in my neighborhood is not an eyesore, and I consider it important for safety reasons. I believe keeping gasoline and other machinery in a garage a fire hazard. I have signed the petition and will continue to fight this cause. The second email is from Sandra Ramirez, and she's at 6548 Laurel. We have been living in Indian Head Park since 2011, and there have been no issues nor concerns regarding unattached structures, such as private garages, playhouses, and sheds, until recent. Our family and neighbors are concerned about receiving a letter from the village regarding a violation of an ordinance and requesting to be removed by the end of October. Many of these properties were grandfathered in with sheds, fences, and other unattached structures. Our home does have a shed, and that was at the property when we had bought it. With the removal of sheds, we will not be able to properly store outdoor equipment, such as riding mowers, gasoline, etc., and all of our yard equipment for the winter as well. Now, all of a sudden, our shed is a violation, and no one intentionally wants to be in violation. We kindly request you to review this ordinance and to update it. We are good neighbors, and we would like to resolve this issue with this town. The last email I have is regarding the Wolf Road expansion and fencing, and I'm just going to briefly go over it. It is from Hillary Poshek. I apologize if I did not say her name correctly. 6509 Blackhawk Trail. I am an IHP resident located at 6509 Blackhawk. Our property's backyard backs up to Wolf Road. I understand the Wolf Road expansion project, along with the fence ordinance, will be discussed at tonight's meeting. Your Facebook message indicated I should direct my questions to this email address. Wolf Road is a major roadway in our community. It is high traffic with vehicles that travel at high speeds for a residential area. I am always concerned for the safety of my children, pets, and home, as well as concerned about the high level of noise and visual disturbance. All of my concerns greatly increase with the Wolf Road expansion project, along with added concerns for how this could negatively affect our property value and ability to sell our home should we choose to do so. She went on to ask questions that I think will be answered tonight, so I will pass this along to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, and I have one to read from Debbie Piatowski. Again, I apologize if I'm saying that wrong, at 1714 65th Place. It's a two-page email. I'm sorry, Debbie, I won't be able to read it all, but I'll read the first part, which I think is the most important. I'm sending this comment for the meeting this evening regarding the shed issue. I will be attending this meeting, though I know participation is limited, so I have documented my concern. I'm also amongst the most of my neighbors in the east section of IHP that signed a petition to remove the ordinance banning fences and sheds. You will see below I sent emails to Mr. DeRocher, though I only received one response that I did not really address my concerns or offer solutions. I was not sure if these emails were shared with you or not. First, my background on the shed is that I purchased my home in October 2016. At that time, the village was still doing inspections as a condition of selling a home. I was told the previous owner had 2 sheds and was fined until one was removed from the property. Additionally, the previous owner had converted the single-car garage to a room. Because they had done their work unpermitted, he had to pay a fine and have some of the work redone in order to sell his home. Thus, the home was approved for my purchase by the village with 1 shed and no garage. I would have never purchased this house knowing a shed is not allowed, as I need a place to store the ridiculous paper bags we are required to use for lawn waste until garbage day, landscaping tools, outdoor sports equipment, parentheses, bikes, kayaks, etc., in parentheses. Additionally, it would be illegal to store gasoline in the house used for outdoor equipment. I believe it would be unsightly to have these items exposed around my yard. I respectfully ask that the ordinance prohibiting shed and fences, although I don't have a fence, be removed. Okay, there is another opportunity for public comments at the end of the meeting, but last shot for comments. Yes, Ann?
Can I just give you some history on sheds? Because in the 1980s, when I was elected to the board, I was given the job in being in charge of buildings. And so here I am, the first time trustee, and I was ordered by the board with the building inspector to go out and find every single shed in the village. And we were going to take them all to court. Well, I found so many sheds, the village couldn't afford to take all these people to court. So my recollection is that we then decided to allow sheds, but there were certain rules and regulations about sheds. They had to be shielded. If you wanted a shed, then you better put some bushes around the shed. So right now, it's still illegal for someone to have a shed?
You need a special use permit for a
Okay.
shed. So in 1985, you
Right.
passed numerous,
I want to say 17.
yeah,
Okay. So they can
Ordinances.
have a shed as long as they apply.
correct. So it's a
Okay.
public hearing process. You go through planning and zoning. than
Yeah.
ultimately the village
And-
board.
Well, that's good.
Since you brought up that you were part of that, thank you again for your many years of service. Some of the ordinances, and I didn't get to look at all of them, from 1985, when the sheds were approved, said you can have your shed until you sell the property, and I would say that was the minority. So only a few had that, most didn't say that. Do you know why there was a difference?
Yeah, because at that time, the village didn't want anything unattached from the house. I still have today a letter that a little boy wrote me. Please don't take my little swimming pool away from me. Because the family had even gotten a letter regarding that. But his pool was saved, so.
All right, thank you, Ann.
I-
Okay, I don't see any other, I don't see anybody on Zoom raising a hand for a public comment. I guess if anybody's out there, I'm sorry I didn't look at Zoom earlier. Guess you would turn on your video and raise your hand. I don't see any. Okay. Consent agenda. Moving along on our agenda, would somebody like to make a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to establish the consent agenda as printed.
I'll
And,
second.
Thank you, Sean and Amy. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the Clerk Allison, you're on mute. If you could unmute, and please take a vote to establish the consent agenda item that Attorney Branken, and you're still muted, Clerk Allison, if you can hear me. There you go.
Okay, trustee Conboy. Trustee Conboy?
And Sean, Rita, you're muted. Chris, you too?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Farrell Mayor?
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy?
Aye.
Trustee Metz?
He's muted.
Yes. Trustee Metz?
Aye.
And Trustee O'Loughlin?
Aye.
And Trustee Wittenberg?
Aye.
All right, that's
Thank
been
you.
approved. Now, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as established.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brenda and Sean. Any discussion? Any questions? Chris, are you prepared to do the financial report?
Sure. Yep. You ready for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, for the month ending July 2020, cash on hand was $2,972,000. Total for all warrants for July was $385,631. Total revenues, $561,229. And our ending balance for July was $3,148,155.
Thank you, Chris. Any other comments or questions? I'm looking at the trustees. I don't see any. Okay, Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee O'Loughlin?
Aye.
All right, Trustee O'Loughlin?
Aye.
Nope. Okay, thank you. Trustee Kennedy?
Aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayor?
Aye.
Trustee Conboy? Trustee Conboy?
You're muted.
Trustee Conboy is muted. Yeah, thank you, Sean.
John,
Trustee Wittenberg?
stop muting me.
Aye.
And Trustee Metz?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that has been approved. Thank you all. Okay, very patiently, Christopher has been waiting. Christopher, you could please take the podium. This is about your Boy Scout project. Welcome, and thank you for waiting through all that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Henshaw.
Oh, we waiting for the slide to be put up? I think you can start and we'll get the slide.
All right, thank you again, Village Board of Trustees, for having me here. I am Christopher Noga. I'm a Life Scout with Troop 19 in LaGrange, working towards my Eagle rank. I'm also a junior at Lyons Township High School, and I live in Indian Head Park on Arrowhead Trail. The purpose of this project is to provide service and fulfill the part of the Scout Oath to help other people at all times. To achieve Eagle rank, a Life Scout must complete a project that benefits a village, charitable organization, or their community in general.
Christopher, I'm sorry, we don't have these slides, so all the board did get your very nice PowerPoint or whatever tool you use, so I would just ask that you keep going from that.
Okay. The Eagle project I have in mind would incorporate a new sign for the Arrowhead Trail subdivision with illumination that would display the nature of the Native American background of Indian Head Park and provide a refreshed look for the Arrowhead Trail subdivision. The existing sign on Arrowhead Trails is 10 feet long, 12 inches high, and 36 inches off the ground, as well as being weathered and in need of dire improvement. The new sign I will have has raised lettering with an arrow pointing towards the street. The sign will also have the Indian Head Park logo stamped in bronze. The sign will be illuminated with 2 solar spotlights and will be approximately the same dimensions of the existing sign. Looking at other village signs in Indian Head Park, I conceptualized the following designs. One with dark background and white lettering, one with dark posts and lettering, as well as a cream-colored sign, another with gray posts and a green sign, as well as white lettering, and another with wooden posts and a cedar-stained sign, as well as white lettering. My project plan was to meet with village officials to propose the project, meet with scout leaders to discuss the project, and then complete detailed CAD drawings and renderings of the project for final proposal approval, and then execute the project during late September or early October of 2020. The cost estimate for this project will be $800. There will be no cost to the village for this project and will be financed via private donations. The labor to build the sign will be carried out by the Boy Scouts and adult leaders of Troop 19. With tradition that upcoming Scouts assist Eagle projects to learn valuable skills in service, project management, and craftsmanship. The next steps for this project are to vote on the sign design, execute a proper site survey with proper permits, Julie, and the final size approval, and then purchase supplies and build the sign. The construction of the sign will begin in late September and early October of 2020. Does anybody have questions for this project?
How do you propose to get the votes of the neighborhood, Christopher?
I will walk door to door on Arrowhead Trail and ask residents there.
All right, I'm looking at the Zoom call to see if any trustees have any questions. Amy, Brenda, Sean, any questions? No. Everybody okay with this? Thumbs up? Thumbs up on the Zoom call. I see heads nodding. Sean,
Yes.
Chris? Okay. Congratulations. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't. I think you put in your time. Thank you very much. Okay, next item is new business, item C, ordinance 2020-22, road construction award of contract.
I'd like to make a motion to pass ordinance 2020-22, an ordinance awarding the 2020 road program contract to Chicagoland Paving in the amount of $200,000.
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris and Sean. John?
At the last board meeting, the village board unanimously rejected the low bid of Austin Tyler for the 2020 road improvement program, and they gave the reason of unsatisfactory performance for the work that they're currently doing in the village. The next low bid is from Chicagoland Paving Contractors. It was slightly more than the Austin Tyler bid. The village engineer on this project, Thomas Engineering, vetted Chicagoland Paving and recommends that the board grant the project to them. Hopefully, we can get it done this year. So they are next lowest on the list of qualified bidders. So how Illinois law works is you normally go with the lowest responsible bidder unless if you have a very specific reason why you don't want to use them. Well, the board established that reason at the last meeting, so we can go to the next lowest bidder, which is Chicagoland Paving. So unless if you have a very good reason not to, you should award the contract to Chicagoland Paving.
Thank you, John. Any questions, comments? Looking at Zoom? I don't see any.
I do have a question for John. You've spoken to Chicagoland Paving,
The Village, Thomas Engineering has,
and will they be able to get this done this year?
to the best of our knowledge, yes. We'll get it on their schedule. I'll contact the engineer tomorrow. We'll start working on that, but the goal is this calendar year, or this road construction year.
Do we have a drop dead date where they need to be done? Or?
October 15th, or when the asphalt plants close. They do have to have certain construction temperatures, so we will not let that happen. We won't let them construct below those temperatures.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Amy, did you have any? No. Anybody? I don't see any other questions. Clerk Allison, could we please have a roll call vote? And you are muted again. And Sean is muted. There we go.
All right, trustee Metz,
Aye.
trustee Kennedy,
Aye.
trustee O'Loughlin,
Aye.
trustee Wittenberg,
Aye.
trustee Farrell Mayer,
Aye.
trustee Conboy.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. That has been approved. The next item is a discussion for Acacia Drive reconstruction sidewalk option acceptance. Yeah, go ahead.
I make a motion to select option A, B, or C. Please.
How about first we'll hear from Matt and then discussion and then a motion? Is that okay? Because we don't know which one.
Yeah, we could have a presentation first, but then, for discussion purposes, when it comes time to make the motion, it should be one of those options. That doesn't the types of motions are always made in the affirmative, so it could always be amended, but perhaps we can hear the presentation first, and that'll give you a better idea of what the motion would look like, if that's okay, Trustee Kennedy.
Yes.
And I think when you make that, it would be alternative 1, 2, or 3 instead of option A, B, or C, if that's fair.
Okay.
Matt, you want to come up?
Yep, so this is really a continuation of what was presented at the July Village Board meeting, where we discussed the 3 alternatives for the sidewalk, and to briefly summarize them, the first alternative had a 5-foot landscaped buffer in between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. The second alternative had a 3-foot landscaped buffer in between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. And then the third option had, for most everywhere, it had the 5-foot buffer in between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. However, between the 2 intersections with Acacia Circle, right in front of the condos, the sidewalk would be pushed right against the back of curb. But it would have to be a little bit wider to accommodate the pedestrians that would use it. And then there were also 3 questions that I heard regarding the sidewalk during the public comments. The first one was, can the sidewalk only go in between the driveways? And the standard procedure for placing sidewalk through a minor intersection, such as a driveway, would be to have the sidewalk go right through it. And the reason would be is because it'd also be concrete versus like an asphalt driveway, as are along Cascade, to kind of give the indication that the pedestrians have the kind of the right-of-way through that driveway, versus at an intersection like at Cascade, where the sidewalk stops and there is a kind of the orange or red bumpy thing at the end to indicate that the sidewalk is not continuing through. It continues on the other side, but that's kind of the indication that a vehicle has the right-of-way through there. So for the minor intersections like the driveway, the sidewalk is carried through to indicate that pedestrians kind of have the right-of-way, but at major intersections, it truncates and picks up on the other side to indicate that the vehicles have the right-of-way through there. Any questions on that?
I do have,
Well, the options were up on the screen, they went by. We also have bigger maps, but they're, I think Matt, you did a good job of summarizing. They're basically the same with the 5 feet of grass, 3 feet of grass, or no grass and part of the route.
Yep, that is correct.
I do have a couple questions for Matt.
Yeah, sure.
On the area, on the driveways on Cascade, where we're going through 3 driveways, I believe, the area between the sidewalk and the street, the apron, will that be blacktop or will we do that in concrete?
So the standard procedure would be to do that in concrete, so that there is I guess that provides more uniformity, so it's not going from asphalt to concrete, back to asphalt, and then concrete for the curb and gutter. It would just be asphalt behind the sidewalk, and then concrete sidewalk, concrete apron, concrete curb and gutter. And that would just provide more uniform conditions and less opportunity for there to be a joint where water could get in and the material could start to fall apart.
Okay. And the driveway approach, that will not be a barrier-type curb, correct?
No, the curb in the driveway would be exactly the same as it is now. So it'd be a depressed curb. So there would be functionally no change in access in or out of the driveway.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Sean, do you want to go back and make your motion, please?
I make a motion to select alternative choice 1 as a sidewalk configuration for the Acacia Drive Road reconstruction project.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so thank you, Sean and Rita. So just to reiterate, the alternative 1, is the one with the 5 foot of grass and then the 5 foot of sidewalk differences, correct? That's the one, just to make sure we're all on the same page.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. I was under the impression that we were looking at option B.
Well, but Sean made
Okay,
the
I'm
motion,
sorry. I
right?
apologize,
So,
sir.
right? I mean,
Option 1 was a 5 foot, right?
yes,
That
5 foot of
okay.
grass,
all uniform throughout,
yes.
yes.
Okay, so comments about that?
What do we do if we want to go a different route?
Well, if you're in favor of, say, alternative 2, which was the 3 foot, you could vote no to this motion, I believe, is what we have, right?
That's correct.
But was just confused when John talked to somebody before that had the question. There was some confusion about which one was discussed at the HOA. So are we talking about the 5 foot sidewalk and the 5 feet in between as the option that we're on the table with?
What was discussed on the July 28th meeting, which I think is what you're talking with the HOA, we discussed all 3 options. The feedback from that was overwhelmingly option 2, or alternative 2, which is the 3 foot of grass. There was 1 person, so I think there were 15 at the meeting. So 14 said alternative 2, I'm sorry, I keep saying option, alternative 2, and 1 person said alternative 1. And I see your head nodding, so I think you agree with that feedback.
Well, that was the feedback, but then I said to John that I noticed in the board packet tonight, it said 5 feet and 5 feet, and he said that was a typo. It
Well,
should be the 3 feet and 5.
And I didn't talk to John when he said that. He said at the Public Works meeting that we said the 3 feet of grass, and my memory is 5 feet of grass, and I don't have the Public Works meeting in front of me. I know, Sean, you were at that meeting.
That was my recollection as well. And when we walked it, we were looking at 5 feet to take into consideration fire hydrants, trees, any ground covering of any point.
Chris, do you have a memory of that Public Works meeting? You're on mute. I guess you're saying you don't know, but you're on mute, Chris. Oh, does Chris have to unmute?
No, I can ask him to unmute.
Okay,
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I could not control that mute button on my own. My recollection was we were going for option 2, or alternative 2, to minimize the impact on the landscape.
Confirming, what option are you recollecting that is? 5 and 5 or 5 and 3?
Alternative 2 is the 3-foot wide grass buffer between the urban sidewalk.
all right, so we have 2 people who recollect it one way and 2 the other, but I think that's a moot point because we have a motion for alternative 1. If the board is against that, we could vote no, and say no to the 5 foot and 5 foot, right? And then we could make another motion to go to the 3-foot alternative 2.
Well, maybe it was a communication issue. Sean, did you just not pick the right one, or did you really?
No, again, when we discussed it in here and walked it outside, in my mind, it was always the 5 feet as we were literally, we actually did it, we counted the trees for both ways, but it was always for the 5 feet. Was the,
I mean, when John was replying to Karen, I thought he was saying at the meeting, the choice was option 2, alternative 2, but John has a memory that Public Works meeting, it was alternative 2, and then we could get the meeting, I don't know, but.
Well, it was when we met with the HOA, the consensus was option 2, the 3-foot buffer with 5-foot sidewalk.
Company firm have a recommendation?
I leave it up to the board. We developed the 3 options and 3 alternatives and presented them to the board at the last meeting. So it's the village is ultimately going to be one that has to maintain everything. So from an engineering perspective, there's really not a lot of difference between the 3. It's more of just the preference of the board and, visual appearance, all of that.
To represent what was at the HOA meeting, just to make sure we understand, so there was a Public Works meeting, and at that meeting it was discussed that the 5 and 5 was preferable. Am I hearing that right?
Well, I think we have a difference of memory.
Okay.
2 people said that and 2 people said
Okay.
the 3-foot and 5-foot.
Then I hear that there was a separate HOA meeting that the mayor and John attended with the different HOAs, and that there was clearly discussion about the 5 and 3. And that seemed to be preferred. Is that a correct statement?
I would say the discussion was all 3 alternatives, but the feedback from the people present was 14 out of the 15 were for alternative 2, and 1 was wavering on alternative 1, and she went and walked it and got back in touch with me and John after the meeting and said definitely option 1. But without any doubt, it was all but 1 at the HOA meeting that was in favor of alternative 2.
Thank you.
All right, any questions or comments?
I just want to make sure if when we vote, if we vote no, we can still reintroduce the option for a different alternative?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, other questions or comments? Okay, I do not see any. I'm going to wait a second, make sure you guys are set. Okay, no, quite all right. Clerk Allison, if we could have a roll call vote, and I would say you should go in the order of the person requested, and then the second, and then random, please.
Trustee Kennedy.
aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayer.
No.
Trustee Conboy.
He's muted again.
Muted.
Sean, you're muted.
Trustee Conboy. Still muted.
You're good now, Sean.
Maybe
go
do a
ahead.
hand signal.
Yeah, I'm not controlling the mute button, just as an FYI.
I am not.
Someone
either.
else is controlling the mute button. But
Okay.
I vote yay.
Trustee Metz.
No.
Trustee O'Loughlin.
No.
Would you say that again, please?
No.
Okay, thank you. And Trustee Wittenberg.
No.
All right, the noes have it.
All right, so that motion fails. Would somebody like to make a new motion?
I can make a motion, if I can find it here. Make a motion to select option, or alternative 2 as the sidewalk configuration for the Acacia Drive Road reconstruction project.
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris and Rita. Any other discussion?
So the sidewalk is 5 feet wide and the buffer is 3 feet.
Correct, and that's uniform throughout the project. Any other questions, looking at the Zoom? Okay. I don't see any other questions or comments. Clerk Allison, if we could have a roll call vote, please, again, starting with who made the motion and seconded.
That would be Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayor.
Aye.
Trustee Conboy.
Aye.
Trustee O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Wittenberg.
Aye.
And Trustee, who did I miss? Metz?
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Aye.
All right, Kennedy. All right, thank
Trustee
you.
Kennedy voted aye, so that is six,
So it's
nothing.
6-0, yeah.
That
Thank
has
you.
been approved, thank you all. Moving to the next item, the ordinance 2020-23, approval of a roof repair bid.
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2020-23, an ordinance awarding the roof repair contract to Red Feather Group in the amount of $36,770.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brenda and Amy. John, some discussion?
In this
Update?
year's capital budget, we have budgeted funds for the roof replacement at Village Hall and the replacement of the gazebo roof in Sacagawea Park. The village went out for bids. We received numerous bids with a wide range of bids. The low bid was from Red Feather Group in the amount of $34,000 or $36,000 and change. For the Village Hall, it involves a full removal of the existing shingles and replacement with 30 to 40-year life shingles. There's a 1-year warranty on the work. For the Sacagawea Park gazebo, they will be replaced with cedar shakes. Again, a 1-year warranty on the work and 30-year on the, in a period of warranty on the shingles per the manufacturer. And especially in Sacagawea Park, it will be daily cleanup of the work because it's an active park. So we would worry about children stepping on nails and things like that. So daily cleanup in Sacagawea Park. So staff recommends acceptance of the bid and awarding of the contract.
Thank you, John. Any questions or comments?
What kind of roof is on the gazebo now?
The gazebo has cedar shakes,
It does, and we're replacing those.
replacing in kind.
I do have another question about that. Cedar shakes, did we not maintain them properly? I would have thought they would have lasted longer, or wrong on that?
Brenda is telling me they weren't maintained properly.
Okay. Yeah, I just know a neighbor has cedar shakes and they seem to get a sealer every so many years and a few get replaced here and there, so. Is that something that we could ask Public Works to
Yes, we will.
have on a regular maintenance schedule?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Other questions, comments?
Yeah, Jen, would that be something that Public Works would take care of themselves? We would have to hire that out.
The
right?
resealing, yes.
So it's just
We would have
paying
them
for the
redo it.
materials
Correct.
and an hour of their time.
Amy, Brenda? Rita, Sean? I don't see any.
No.
Okay,
I have, just for a matter of information, there are bricks around the gazebo, and the bricks are dated back 20 years. So I don't know when the gazebo was roofed, but I'm going to say it was probably 20 years ago. So that seems like a pretty long time for a roof.
thank you.
Just an FYI.
You okay? Okay, Clerk Allison, could you do a roll call vote on this, please?
Yes, Trustee O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Wittenberg.
Aye.
Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy.
Hi.
Trustee Farrell Mayer.
Aye.
And Trustee Conboy.
How about thumb up or thumb down, Sean? Aye, I think.
He's muted beyond control again.
We gotta hear you. And Sean, John, he's not pushing any buttons, so I don't know what. There we go.
You want me to vote again?
Yes.
We need you to say yes or no.
We're voting
aye
on the
or-
roof repair, Sean.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sean, you
Sean.
are a valued member of our board.
Okay,
You know,
so
you-
that has,
you-
I'm sorry, Chris, what was that?
I just said Sean is a valued member of the board, even though we don't seem to get to hear him when he wants to talk.
Okay, thank you for that, and that motion is passed. So we're on to the last item of new business, ordinance 2020-24, refuge bid/leaf vacuuming. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to award the waste hauling / leaf removal franchise to SBC Waste Services, subject to village attorney review of form and insurance certificates.
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris and Sean. John, it's up to you again, please.
A little bit of background. Staff was asked to investigate two items, leaf vacuuming and the granting of a franchise for garbage collection. So we started looking at these independently, and I could find no firm willing to just do leaf vacuuming for the village on its own. And we had outlined to you previously the cost associated with leaf vacuuming in the village. The village had done leaf vacuuming at least 10 years ago. It was a very costly proposition and very time-consuming on staff's part. And since that time, we have since sold the leaf vacuuming equipment. So to repurchase leaf vacuuming equipment on the village's end would be between $40,000 and $80,000, plus $20,000 to $30,000 in labor for the village to do leaf vacuuming in-house. So we saw it. There's a community to the north of us whose garbage contractor does combination of waste hauling and leaf vacuuming. So we prepared a bid combining both. We are met by pushback from some of the garbage companies, so we separated out the bids as an option. So it was the garbage franchise, and I'll get back to that in a minute, and then leaf vacuuming as an optional component. The reason for the franchise agreement was I noticed that the residents of the village paid substantially more for garbage pickup than what other communities paid that had a franchise agreement. Now, we do enjoy exceptional service from Groot. that is a given. And anecdotally, pretty much unlimited pickup for, especially for residents who have the 95-gallon toter. So it's a very high level of service, and you're paying a very high level of price for that. So we try to design the bid program to allow for a wide variety of options, from being able to continue with your 95-gallon toter, pretty much not unlimited pickup, but a 95-gallon toter that you could contract for with the waste hauling company, a 65-gallon toter, and if you're a smallish family, so to speak, a 35-gallon garbage can. We also have an option for what's called a bag and tag option, which is I only put out garbage when I need to, but I have to put a sticker on it. So I would go to my local store, buy a sticker, put that on the can or bag, and then that would be taken away. Recycling is a free component or included in the cost of the service fee for garbage. So that is the framework that we bid out. A couple other things we added to the bid was one amnesty day a year, so kind of a village-wide cleanup day, and free pickup for waste at Village Hall, the Heritage Center, and at Public Works, because we're paying for that right now. It costs us on average about $12,000 a year for that. So those were the base bid components. So we did the bids, we received 3 bids back. We received bids from Lakeshore, Groot, and SBC Waste Solutions. None of the 3 bids originally had a leaf vacuuming component. We went through the bid documents, and although some of them had deviations from the bid document, we determined that SBC in total appeared to be the lowest responsible bidder for this work. Now, there are some nuances in the bids. For instance, Groot, as part of their bid in the exception section, said, we'll give you 10 bags for pickup for free of yard waste during the traditional leaf vacuuming period, which would be middle of October to the end of November. SBC had the base of 1 week of unlimited pickup at the start of the year, which is April 1st, and then 1 at the end of the year, so November 30th timeframe. SBC's bid was a straight bid with no adjustments at all, with an escalator that was included in the bid. Groot had CPI as their escalator annually, and they had something called the regulatory charge that they could change on whim based on their business needs. So that was of concern to me. So we looked at all of those options and tried to monetize it, and it looked like SBC, that's why we recommended them, was the low bidder when all things were considered. And the low bid was, in round numbers, not looking at the regulatory charges, about $60 a year per household. So that was the low bid. After we bid and said,
John, I think you mean a savings of $60?
Savings of $60 per year, sorry. After we reviewed the bids, SBC came back and said, we really want your business. We're going to throw in leaf vacuuming at a cost of $27,500 per year with a 3.5% escalator annually for leaf vacuuming. And then they added a couple other items too. That is allowed under Illinois law. Once you establish the low bidder, the municipality can further negotiate with them. So had that not been the case, then you would have had to look at a franchise of $60 a year difference. So we looked at that, and it sweetened the deal, and then we presented the contract to you the bid to you in June, and we accepted it, and we were directed to negotiate a contract with SBC, which we have done, which you have before you. So that is, here's another couple nuances before I go further, just for clarification. So if I'm a single person, and I put out one bag every month. I have to buy one garbage sticker every month. So I can put out recycling every week, but my one bag has to have can has to have a sticker, and they'll take that away. So that's great if I don't put out a lot of garbage. If I own a business outside of town and they have garbage pickup, I can take my garbage there, drop it off, and still have the recycling. What I can't do is take my garbage and put it in somebody else's garbage can. That's not even allowed now. So there are some nuances to that. By having a franchise, we get to set the terms of the agreement, and we get to have other stuff included, like pickup for the movie night. If we have a movie night, we can have garbage pickup at that event. So that is kind of the lay of the land where we are right now with the contract. And to be fair, I've never heard a complaint against Groot. In fact, quite the opposite. Our residents really think highly of Groot. So, although I've had one complaint, I'm sorry, about Groot and yard waste pickup. But that being said, that is where we are.
So correct me if I'm wrong, so it's probably about $1.22 per household, per month savings? And then- because it's $60.
A year, so
Right.
it's $5 a month.
And then, right now, Groot goes and they pick up one item every single,
There's one item
per week.
per week, in the bid, it's one item up to 50 pounds, and white goods are a separate charge altogether. So-
Right, but SBC, after 2-3 months, they're gonna start charging
Yeah,
for that.
yes.
And what's the charge for that?
It'd be a sticker, it would be $2.85 to start.
John, can I get
I do
clar-
have a question about didn't SBC agree to walk to the back of somebody's house to pick up garbage for elderly or handicapped or disabled
If they're-
individuals, or am I incorrect on that?
If they're disabled, yes, they will provide backdoor pickup.
There was, I believe, a form they had to fill
Yeah.
out and present some sort
That's
of.
at no extra
Right.
charge?
At no extra charge. And then there's an annual electronics or hazardous waste day that we will coordinate with them, so.
On the $60, what is the cost per single-family home resident under the contract? I want to figure out how we got to the 60, because I know it was a savings, I just don't remember. And if you don't
Okay.
have that,
The base bid for SBC was $15.55 for a 95-gallon toter. And my observation is most people in the village have that. $15.95. And then the Groot charge was about $5 a month more than that, so that's how I came to, it's about $60 a year.
right, but, so $15.95 is the number.
Yeah.
Because knowing what my bill is from Groot, I'm just wondering what, with a 95-gallon toter is what you're calling it, and a traditional recycling bin,
Yes.
what was that monthly charge roughly?
The 95-gallon toter is $15.55, and there is no cost on recycling, I believe, in any of
Correct.
the
And
plans.
none of the bids is there a separate charge for recycling?
Okay, but with SBC, you could have a smaller toter and pay less.
Correct.
Okay,
We got
so
a sheet.
Whereas with Groot, it's all just one size, fits all.
Correct.
So
And-
there's potential to have obviously more than the $5 a month savings.
Well,
per household.
that's what I'm getting to. If it's $15.55 per month, times 3 months is $46.65.
It's $19.95 on the Groot matrix.
Which is different than what you're paying now without the franchise agreement.
Right, because my bill right now is almost twice what this is, so that's more than $6 a month.
Right, but I was just comparing bid prices.
When you said you were comparing bid prices, does that mean SBC was 60 less than the next or 60 less than today?
60 less than the bid submitted, not what you're paying now, not what residents are paying now if they pay a garbage bill.
So they were $60 better than second place. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, on the bids received, SBC is about $60 a year lower than the bid submitted by Groot.
Okay. Now, I think there's other savings, like you mentioned, if somebody does not throw out much trash and they only put one bag out a month for $3, they will save a lot more. I don't know what that person is paying today with Groot, but I assume
I have not
they're-
been able to find that out.
And then, Chris, you had brought up some of the things that they do, like free backdoor pickup. They also do a village cleanup day, electronics and paint recycling event, business discount, and they said no fuel cost escalator. So again, we got a sheet, it's not dated, but you know, this sheet that has kind of the grid with their information.
To me, it just seems like a win-win with SCB over Groot. Not that Groot did anything wrong, but when it comes down to dollars and cents, SCB seems to be fine. They're the people that are in the company, even though it's a new company, are experienced with Flood Brothers, even though they're not associated with Flood Brothers anymore. I believe that they will perform well for our village.
Clerk Allison, if you're talking, I cannot hear you. I see. There you go.
Okay. If, let's say it's Christmas time and the kids get a whole lot of boxes of toys and you have an awful lot of cardboard and you're overflowing in your recyclable bin. So you end up putting them in black bags along the side of your recyclable bin. What is it going to cost you if SBC has to get out and pick that up separately?
The bid spec,
Or you're having a party on the weekend and you got a whole big batch of pizza boxes.
well, pizza boxes are usually different because they have oils in them and they're generally not recyclable. But if, for instance,
Well,
if,
then in that box,
No.
let's say then in the regular
all right, so what you do is you sort it and you bundle it as tightly as you can and put it next to your recycling. They will pick that up. So they will do things outside of the bin as long as it's apparent and they can grab it quickly.
Okay.
So
And
what
there's
I
no
do
extra
is,
charge for that.
what I do at home is when I do multiple recycling bins, so if I have a bunch of cardboard, I just stack it vertically and I shove it between the two recycling bins so it stays in place. Hopefully it's not windy, and then they come by and they pick it up.
Or you take a box
So is
and
that
put,
an option, John, then to have more than one recycle bin?
Absolutely.
or you take one
And
of
it
the
doesn't-
Christmas
it's the same
boxes
price.
and you put everything in the box, all the cardboard. So there is no cost for recycling pickup. And
We have a representative from
It's buried in the
SCB
sticker cost or the
on
subscription cost.
Zoom call, don't we? Are we able to ask him some of these questions to verify?
Yes. I am unmuting Jake Gilberto now.
But again, recycle, there's no charge for recycle, and if you have a box full of cardboard next to your recycle, they will take that.
John DeRocher, this is Jake DiLiberto. Am I okay to go ahead and give a remark?
Please.
Very good. To the board members and to the mayor, thanks very much for giving us the opportunity to respond to this tonight. We promise to this village that selecting us will be the best decision you've ever made. We intend to give you the most exceptional service that you will receive. With regards to an item here or there outside of the box, this is the least concern that you need to have. Christmas time, a celebratory thing, whatever. We are going to take it, and we are not going to make a fuss about it. To the extent that there is related for a concern, the only concern that we would have for the residents on a regular basis is if the recycling container became a wish cycling container, meaning that it is a contaminated container full of, organic waste and electronic waste, such as a coffee machine, which the EPA does not allow to go through the normal single stream recycling center, in which we would have to then tag it and say, dear resident at 101 Main Street, such items are not allowed in the single stream recycling. Please remove them. We'll be back tomorrow to collect this bin. Thanks very much. And we would regularly try to communicate with the residents so that they were aware of how to be the best environmental stewards that they can be. So it's not about the items that are outside. It's more about the items that are inside and making the recycled can a garbage can. Okay, that's one point. And then the second point to anyone's concerns, our intention is not to not collect any material. Our intention is to collect the material and get rid of it any way possible, because we don't want the village to receive a phone call in any way, shape, or form. We want the village to be clean, and we want the village to be happy, which is why we're the only ones to submit a leaf vacuuming program so that we could fulfill the need. Our intent is to fulfill the need. It is not to be a laggard on expediency of getting rid of material. So we will regularly on site on a daily basis on collection day. We will be at Village Hall. On a regular site on collection day, we'll be in the village tracking the collection. And on a regular site, you will see either myself or you will see a route supervisor on site who all of your residents will know by name, in which your residents will become friends with, so that there is no question about their satisfaction of the level of collection or cleanliness or responsiveness. If there's any more questions related to this that I can answer, I'm happy to. I hope that has settled the resolve for anything such as a pizza box here or a bag there. We will do everything we can to remove the material. The only concern is about making sure that your residents recycle the best way they can, which means, i.e., no plastic bags, no electronic waste inside the stream, and no contaminated material, which I think at this point everyone mostly knows. So with that, John, I will happy to step back and be able to answer any questions or just stay on mute.
John, can I get some clarification? And Jacob, you please feel free to chime in if you know the answer to this better. So the Groot bid was roughly $20 per month, right? $19.95.
Yeah, in round
you said?
numbers,
Okay.
yes.
Theirs is roughly $15.50 per month. So that comes out to between $46 and $60 per month.
Per month or per year?
Per month. So it's every 3 months. Every three.
Okay.
It's on so Groot right now is on a 3-month cycle.
Okay.
That's when I get my bill, 3 months worth. So that's the number I have in my head. What I'm paying right now is substantially more than both of those numbers, without any leaf pickup, without any of the other services that they've talked about. So the savings, I think, is $60 between the two bids. But the savings that residents may realize will be substantially more than $60 a year.
Correct, correct.
Okay.
I think you estimated $150, right?
It's actually, so I opened my bill before I came here, it was $85 and change. I'm moving to roughly $46.65. That's $40 a month. So that's $40 every 3 months. So yeah, that's $160 with added services that we don't currently have.
I have a question, Jacob. Can you answer the pizza box? I've heard that any number of times over the years. Is it okay to throw a pizza box in the recycling bin?
Mayor Hinshaw, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. My response to you, as any good civil servant who is a vendor on behalf of the municipality, Mayor Hinshaw, you can put whatever you want in the recycling or garbage can. That was a joke.
Yes.
With response to what our EPA compliance would be, we would ask all residents to try to put every bit of cardboard they can in the material and paper that is non-contaminated. And contaminated means food material that is attached. If there's a little bit of grease or a little stain, that's okay. But if you see any bit more than 25% of the container box that has a grease stain or food contamination, you can cut that off and then you can remove that, or just throw that in the garbage can, either way. That's a general guidelines, and that this is one of the things that we will be regularly trying to communicate to the residents, probably on a quarterly basis, either with a tag or a friendly reminder, or via social media with the village's consent, the village's the administration's sort of guidance about how we go about doing that, so that the residents are continually reminded about that.
Thank you. Other questions or comments looking at the Zoom?
I just want to say that hopefully we will pass this ordinance or approve this, and we'll never have to hear from a resident again that, why don't we have leaf pickup in our village? If I had a nickel for each time I heard that, I'd have more than $1.
Other questions or comments? All right, I believe that the vote may be close tonight, so I'm going to make a couple of comments, and I think the trustees know, so this may be for the members of the audience or anybody on Zoom, that even when I lived in a single-family home, I was against the village doing leaf pickup, because I think it will benefit single-family home owners more than the condos and townhouses in our village. So I'm not happy about the village picking up the cost, which in this proposal we are paying for that. And one other goal that I was trying to avoid, that if we as a board vote for or get a solution that has leaf pickup, that our staff is not responsible for doing that. We just take on that burden and that cost. We could do it, but it would not be my preference. So I just wanted to get those comments out for the record. Any other comments? Anybody? I'm not seeing any. Sean Comboy, I don't see you. Okay. Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
You're muted.
You're still muted. Hang on. Sean Comboy, maybe you're muting Clerk Allison? No, okay. All right.
All right, can you hear me? Not yet?
No, we're good. We can hear you.
Yeah, we're good.
You can hear me. All right. Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayer.
Aye.
Trustee Conboy.
Aye.
Trustee O'Loughlin.
No.
Trustee Wittenberg.
No.
Okay, it's 4-2.
All right, 4-2, that is approved. We will have information in smoke signals. We will communicate this, John.
Yes. Mass mailing to all the residents, an FAQ on our website, and multiple media posts, and at least 2 town hall meetings.
And then, Jacob, you will work with us on like the conversion plan of toters and all that, right?
He's muted.
I'm sure, yeah, you're muted, but I know we've talked about it, but can you hear me?
Can you hear me, sir?
Ask him to unmute.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Can you hear?
Go ahead.
Henshaw, can you hear me, sir?
Yep, I can hear you.
Very good. Yes, we will be locked in step with the board, with yourself, and with the administration to make sure that we successfully execute any transition and any information to your residents. Every person on this board will feel confident before execution day that they are getting the best service possible in this industry. And we will, furthermore, we will do anything we can in the process to do any direct communication to residents in our customer service office before the contract's communicated to further answer any questions. So the village doesn't have to answer every phone call. We will be here for you.
Okay, very good. That was all recorded, so hopefully we will never come back to that. All right. Moving around the table for the trustee reports, and anybody waiting to talk at public comments, this usually goes pretty quick. I'm going to go how we normally sit. Sean Comboy, any comments? I don't see Sean, and he is muted. If you have something, we'll come back to you.
No comment, no update. And
Thank you,
I'm gonna
Sean.
jump on another phone here, so.
Okay. Sean Kennedy?
Yeah, question. Going back to, I think, Mayor's report, you discussed this Phase 1 for Wolf Road, approved, 18-month time frame. I may have missed it. Did you have a rough start of that 18-month period? A rough date?
I'm looking at our engineer.
Yep, so that passed the county board, July 30th, and the village is waiting for the executed,
Oh.
intergovernmental agreement between the county and the village.
I'll repeat it. Or you can repeat it.
Yep, so the intergovernmental agreement between the village and Cook County was passed at their July 30th board meeting, and I don't believe the village has received the executed
Not
copy.
yet.
Yep. So once they've received the executed copy, then we can enter into the agreement between Strand and the village to get started. So within the next month, I would say.
Okay. So along.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. So along those lines, I know, and we did mention it earlier tonight, the changes that are going to happen on Wolf Road potentially with Buckthorn, things being removed. When do we see as a board where we start discussing what options may be for those people that live along Wolf Road, so what they're going to be able to do to replace whatever gets taken out because of the construction? Have we?
I think, we could start as early as next month. I think the board, as under the Open Meetings Act, individually, two people can talk, two board members. So, but here at the board meeting, I think we want to start talking about that again as early as next month. I think we can start to frame the options that we have and time frame and all that, so, we don't wait for 4 years. And so whether it's next month or the month after, I would say soon.
Okay, and I would agree with that, and that was kind of where I was going with it. If we're discussing other fence issues within the village, do we not try to incorporate this potentially as well and get everything done at once?
Right, and then again, I know the board has not committed to a fence, but we've talked about it, and if we do, is it a uniform fence? Does everybody have to have it, or can individual, those are the kinds of questions that we talked about figuring out. And as our village sidewalk czar, I, would ask for your help in pushing this forward. And then, so phase 2 takes about a year? I'm looking at Matt.
Yeah, roughly.
And there's time in between, like now it's been approved, we haven't really started, so that 18-month clock hasn't really started. And then between phase 1 and phase 2, there's a lag, and then phase 3 is construction. So 3 years earliest for construction?
Yes, I would say 3 years at the earliest.
And maybe 5 years or 4 years or something, right?
I won't comment on the upper limit of that.
And again, if some drastic thing happens in our economy or with the county, there's no guarantee this is going forward.
Yes, I'm not sure about the how the county has that funded already. All I know is the phase 1 is funded on their end, and that's what's approved at this time.
But one point I want to make, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't, Karen is here, and her association has planted evergreens or
Arborvitae.
arborvitae?
23 of them.
23, and they've been back
3 feet apart.
3 feet apart and they're back behind. You can see them as you're driving down, right? So they're well off the right-of-way. So it's on Karen's Association's property. And I think that was done not for this reason, but as long as they were doing that, we had started the discussion. If you want to talk, you want to step up?
The reason it was done, ComEd came out and put new poles up. And when they did, they annihilated everything that was along the road. All the overgrowth that's there now, with the buckthorn and so forth, was taken down by ComEd, and they would not put anything back. All they did was throw seed down. So the people who lived in our buildings, the cross street, is that Blackhawk? I believe so. When they came to the stop sign, the lights were flashing into the people's windows.
That's Eastgate, but connects to Blackhawk.
Excuse me,
Yep.
that's right, it connects to Blackhawk. Anyway, I talked to our arborist and said, what can we put here? And I don't want to start with something small, so we went with 7-foot arborvitaes, 23 of them, and brought it 10 feet inside of our lot line. So,
But that's something, Sean, I think, everybody should look at on the board, and then, I don't know if it's a poster child, but certainly an option.
well, the good thing is that, it's evergreen all year. It's never another color, it doesn't lose its leaves. Minor upkeep with arborvitae. You don't have to do anything but water them good in August and September, that's it.
But thank you. Anything else? Brenda?
The fund committee, we're trying to have it's going to be a movie in the park with C-Spar, like we've been doing for the last few years. It's going to be September 12th. That's the date that tentatively we're going to have it. There's more to come. It just all depends really on what happens with the COVID. Of course, we'll, be practicing distancing as well as wearing face masks, and there's more to come. We're just trying to get all the facts together and just trying to make an event for, the families to get out and to enjoy themselves one evening and that, but we have to see how everything goes. And so hopefully we can do that.
Thank you for working with C-Spar on that. I know everybody would love the movie in the park, but we have to do it safely and all that, and I know everybody would understand if we can't do it, but thank you. Anything else? Amy?
Nothing, thank you.
Chris?
Yeah, I just want to mention the Heritage Center, the railing that was put up. Our head docent, Gene Sutherland, had requested that. I think a resident fell at the front steps, and very quickly with Public Works, John, Kyle O'Connor got a new Heritage Center railing in, and it looks great and made things safer for everybody. I want to know, who do we thank for the $1.5 million loan forgiveness on our water loan? That's an amazing gift, so we can get more of our water infrastructure straightened out. But where did that come from? How did that happen?
I can explain. So early on in the loan process, I signed a document saying that applying for loan forgiveness. And that is always dependent upon federal funding passing down through to the state through various public works bills. So it's always an if, but funding was granted and it passed through to us, and we're fortunate to have it. So we just did our paperwork correctly. We got funding from the federal government, passed through the state, through the revolving loan program, and we are the benefit of just good timing.
Okay, well, that's terrific. And on Wolf Road, I just wanted to mention, I would hope that, I know Tom has mentioned several times the idea of a fence. I'd much prefer to see us do some terrific landscaping there for the residents, get rid of the buckthorn, put something in similar to what Karen did for her development, or maybe even a berm, with built up. But hopefully that would be a part of the whole road rebuilding program to make things much better on everybody. And I hope, and I'm sure that in Acacia, we will restore that landscape as much as we possibly can. And then also on the shed and fence moratorium, or we're going to have a moratorium on the letter for 6 months. I just want to make sure I'm clear on that, on the residents' behalf. So we're not going to enforce the removal of the sheds or the fences. We're going to revisit this. And what's the next step? How do
We said that nothing would happen once the board decide what will happen, then it would be 6 months. Obviously, if the board says everything can stay as it is, then nothing will need to happen. But if the board takes the tack that the fence or shed needs to come out, then it would be 6 months after that decision, at least 6 months. So that would be decided as part of the discussions on what to do with the census and feds and the letters that went out, is what kind of time frame would we be looking at?
So that would be decided on the board level
Yeah.
at the next meeting.
Well, I think
No,
we're gonna.
not at the next meeting.
Well, it might be at the next meeting, but we're gonna talk about it at the next meeting.
Okay, but we're not going to enforce the removal, the letter that went out.
Yeah, again, the letter that went out that I think had a September deadline, I've heard some say October deadline, that will not be put into effect. It's kind of on hold, and then once the board decides an action, it would be at least 6 months after that action for any
Okay.
resident to do something.
Since I'm unclear on it, I just want to make sure that the residents are clear. Will a letter go out stating that?
Yeah, John said they're gonna send another letter out saying, disregard that letter, or, excuse me, back up. They will send out a letter saying the board is discussing it, and you do not have to take action as the first original letter said.
Okay.
It said a lot better than I just mumbled through it, of course. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Rita?
No report.
Thank you. Village treasurer, I do not see.
No, Maureen is
Oh,
absent.
no, that's Maureen Blaber.
No, Maureen's not.
I don't see Maureen. Village attorney?
No report, sir.
Village administrator?
Yes, sir. A number of items. First off, I'd like everybody to remember that September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. We're doing it a little bit early. Actually, World Suicide Prevention Day is the 10th, which is actually our board meeting, but we get this out a little bit early. It's kind of a big deal. Suicide is an event that devastates everybody. And it's a question that haunts the survivors forever, and it's what could I have done differently is really what's on everybody's mind. So we're going to include something about this in our next edition of Smoke Signals and put it on our website, but it is something that's important, so please be aware of that.
And if you don't mind me adding, I think especially in this COVID-19 time, mental health is an issue for all ages. And so I guess if you know anybody who may be acting different, please alert somebody. Thank you.
Thank you. We're working on several grants through the state of Illinois, the Rebuild Illinois and the CARES Act. There's a lot of money out there that's kind of whirling about that we're trying to get access to for things especially pertaining to the expenses that we've had through the pandemic. In general, the village hasn't borne a lot of expenses, face mask and sanitation and some construction in the vestibule of Village Hall, but really we've been kind of lucky because we are a very small community. But we're going to try to get as much funding or reimbursement of the funds that we can. So I'm working on that. We will be having at least 2 town hall meetings regarding leaf vacuuming and garbage pickup. We will be getting that information out as soon as I can coordinate with the vendor. And so look forward to information on that. And as I said earlier, we'll do social media posts. We'll do a mailing to everybody in the village who's subject to this. And social media letters,
Smoke signals,
and
water
smoke signals,
bill.
and water bills were applicable. So, that being, on the sheds and fences, I'll get out a letter early next week to all of the residents who got a letter saying we're gonna hold off for the time being. Again, overnight parking, I guess this is my month to really irritate people. I'd still like us to look at overnight parking in the village. We've had, I haven't gotten a whole lot of feedback, so please let me know what you think about the overnight parking ordinance. So basically, right now, we don't allow commercial vehicles to be parked overnight exposed on the driveway. So please see where we can do better on that. And that's all I have for my report.
Thank you. Department heads, Public Works.
Don, you're up. I can't hear you, Don.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So, last month, a couple months ago, John had tasked us with Justin and I with looking into buckthorn removal for the village. It's a very hard process to do, but we looked into it. 90 to 95% of the buckthorn in the village is either on private property or state roads, county roads. And so as far as the village-wide, it's probably not that feasible to do it. A lot of people like the buckthorn. It's especially west of Wolf, it's full of it. The buckthorn it is. And a little example is one time last month or 2 months ago, the creek overfilled and it did overfill, but there's some branches in there. So we called them, resident called the village called us Public Works. And we called street maintenance. They came out and removed the branches out of the creek there, but in order to get to it, they had to go through the residents' yard. So the residents saw them out there and say, "Hey, what's going on? What are you guys doing?" So they told them, "Well, there's some big branches in the creek. We got to get rid of them." And so the crew was out there, and so they told us about it later. They said, "Yeah, it was kind of funny because thank you for taking out the big branches out of the creek, but can you just please be careful of my buckthorn here. Don't disturb any of my buckthorn in the creek." And so we kind of had a laugh about it because it is an invasive species, but it is it is liked by the people because there's a barrier along Pontiac or Cochise, Keokuk, covers up the tollway, covers up a big wall that takes up some of the sound. It is, and most of it is on not village property. It's on MWRD, state and county. And we did talk to MWRD though, and they did say that along the creek, they would work with us to remove it and treat it, and then plant or reseed. But that's a long process. You have to remove it in the fall, treat it right after, and then the next fall, make sure nothing's there, and then you reseed or with a native grass or native mix, they call it. So we were talking about it, and we were thinking we could possibly do an area maybe down by Public Works, down west of Wolf Road there, where maybe it doesn't affect anybody's view of the tollway or neighbors. We could work with them. They would come in, clear out like a section, whether it be 50 feet, 100 feet, whatever we agreed to, and then let them know that, hey, we'd like you to do this. They would come out at their cost, take it down, treat it, and then the next fall, make sure everything's not coming back, which it's very hard to get it's not come back because so many birds and animals that eat the berries and they spread them all around. But that would be an area that we could try to do like a trial with MWRD doing the work and paying for it. And then we could see how it works and maybe go from there as far as expanding on that to other areas. But like you said, there's not too many areas in the village that is on village-owned property. There's a few areas along Osceola, on Frontage Road, where it is on village property, but most of it's in the residence property in MWRD. So as far as that goes, it would be, so a village-wide eradication of it is nearly impossible with just the tendency for it to come back and for the animals and birds to just keep on spreading it and for it to keep on coming back. So, and we also got in contact with a one contract. We called a couple, but the only one responded. Tallgrass, it's an ecological restoration company. They looked at it over by Public Works. We took them by Cochise, took them by Keokuk. Generally, it was about $5,000 to $6,000 per quarter acre is what they kind of measured it at when they went out there to cut them down, cut out the buckthorn, because then mixed in the buckthorn along just about everywhere is some other native trees that are fine to be there. So it takes someone that knows what they're doing to make sure that you're not cutting away things that maybe shouldn't be cut away. But for them anyway to come in and to recognize what's buckthorn and to cut it down, inject it with an herbicide to kill every stump, which is a big deal, and then come out the next fall to do it. That's where that $5,000 per acre figure comes in from this tallgrass. And then like Cochise and Keokuk, they just took like a general measurement of that, and although that is MWRD, we had them come look at it anyway, and he was saying like Keokuk, the whole distance was like $35,000. Cochise was like $30,000. So it was quite costly, and even then, either cut it and treat it and then plant the new native seed, native mix, but it's a continual thing to make sure that that buckthorn doesn't come back, because birds and animals, it's so much in our area in general that seeds would constantly be deposited, so it's just an ongoing thing that would be a very hard thing to eradicate completely. But John has looked into it, and that's what we came to realize with it. So, if there's any questions about anything, I'm happy to take a question.
Don, thank you. So I think you said 35,000 by Keokuk and 30,000 were estimates from one vendor. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for the whole length of the creek by Keokuk and Cochise. That's what the guy from Tallgrass kind of just looked at and said, well, this is about what it would cost for those two areas, just alone each one.
So that's 65,000. Is that a tenth of what we have, a quarter of what we have? Any estimate?
Oh, geez.
Not private or county, but village-owned.
What was that?
I'm just talking about what the village owns.
Oh, with the village, well, actually, along Keokuk and MW and Cochise, that's, I believe he said it's like 50 foot for MWRD property, so really that's along the banks there is really MWRD property. So if we wanted them to do that, they said they can make that happen. They can take all that down and treat it, and then put the native mix in. It's just that the residents do like that barrier, especially on those two streets with the tollway being there. Now it's going to be widened, and it's just a barrier to seeing the tollway, and it does take some of the sound, it absorbs some of the noise from the tollway. Not all of it, but it does do some. And
all right, but any estimate on the village parks that we have? So if that's MWRD, we really don't count that, right? So, and if you don't have it, you don't have it. I'm just trying to understand, if we did this as a village, what is the estimate for the first year to try to eradicate on our village-owned lands?
On just the village owned, we're like along Osceola, there's a small piece that's on like Parkway, along Frontage Road on the Parkway there.
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot that's actually on village property, mostly is someone else's property. But I suppose going by those figures, at 5,000 to 6,000 per quarter acre, since there's only on this map that we had made, it's probably village is probably like maybe 5% of the total, which is probably miles of, if you add them all up between each resident's lot line and on both sides plus the back in some areas, it's a very small percentage. So I don't know exactly, but we could find that out, what the exact cost would be. So for just village-owned stuff, I could find that out for you. I don't have that exact right now. I just have a general amount that he gave us for quarter acre at a time,
Yep.
or like a whole street, like Ed said.
All right, any other questions, Chris?
Yeah, Don, I have a question, and you may have said this, and I apologize. So if we went through this process, what is the likelihood that it will come back? And if that happens, what's the rough time frame?
The time frame of it coming back?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, well, they have a lot of roots, a very fibrous root. So, did some research on it. A very fibrous root system. Most likely they will come back. They will try to come back the next year, and with birds and animals, and not only in Indian Park but around our area, feeding on those berries as they walk or fly. They constantly. There's really not any nutritional value to the berries, as far as I found out. So they just kind of drop them as they go, and so it'd be a constant battle to okay, here's some more buckthorn coming up. All right, let's get in there and cut that down and treat that, and it's just ongoing because it's so and it grows so fast and so easily, and it likes moist, stale soil. So we're by the creek there. It's just more prevalent there, especially in the lower lying areas and Old Town stuff too. So there would be a constant battle to constantly go in there and inspect, say, oh, it looks like some more buckthorn. Let's get in there, let's cut that down. So it's it can be done if you just constantly had someone watching it constantly getting rid of it every year. Every time you see another plant go in there or another bush trying to come up, right? Oh, get in there and cut it down. It would be a constant battle, and I don't think it would ever go away just because there's so much of it, and the animals like it, and they just eat the berries and they spread them all around. So.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, Don, anything else, or is that it? Is that it, Don?
Oh, yeah, then as far as the roof bid, John had asked me I contacted the Red Feather Group just to find out about their time frame. He had said that their time frame, as soon as the permit was issued from the village, they would be able to get on to the job ASAP, as soon as possible, which most likely within a week, to get on the job after the permit was issued. And the job for both Village Hall and Sacagawea Park together would be 5 days, weather permitting.
All right, thank you. And I like your idea of trying to eradicate the buckthorn by the Public Works, but I'll talk to John and we will go from there. Okay.
Yeah, we could get together and see if we want to do a little trial area, see what happens with it.
I like that. All right, thank you, Don.
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay, public comments again. Linda, you got a comment?
I do. Just one came in from Ed Auer, who lives at 1 Elmwood Drive. This was regarding the garbage. It is his understanding that Acacia is not included in the new garbage contract with SBC. Acacia retains Groot and according to what he has been told, and I'm thinking that is more of a question, so,
Acacia was an option that was carved out in the bid.
thank you.
Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, on that same light, since we can opt out, can we get a cost for disposal of plastic bags? All we do is plastic bags, we don't do toters. Cost and specifications, so
Right.
we can evaluate all the bids that we have coming in.
I gave that contact information to Amy Eckert.
She's still waiting for it. She does not have everything. She's got costs, but she doesn't have the specs.
Okay, I sent her the bid spec and Jake's phone number from SBC, so I can send it to you also.
Okay, just send it to acaciaihp.com.
Okay,
But
Thank you.
Jack, if you don't get it,
Yeah.
give John and what we're
Yeah,
missing.
give me a
Because we
call.
want to evaluate all of our options.
Got it.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Anybody want to make a motion? Oh, let me look, Zoom. Sorry, Zoom, I don't see any Zoom. Okay, anybody want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at
A second.
9:36.
Thank you, Sean and Chris. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. The ayes have it, we're adjourned. Thank you all.